What happens when a serene dive into the depths of the ocean turns into a desperate fight for survival? This is a heart-pounding thriller that explores the limits of human endurance and the unbreakable bond between two sisters. Let's dive into this gripping tale of survival beneath the waves. The story begins with sisters May and Drew embarking on a remote diving adventure in a breathtaking yet isolated location. Their goal is to escape the pressures of their lives and rekindle their bond. May, the older sister, is cautious and experienced, often taking a calculated approach to challenges. Drew, on the other hand, is spontaneous and adventurous, preferring to dive headfirst into life, sometimes literally. The underwater world they explore is breathtaking, filled with vibrant marine life and crystal-clear waters that create an almost otherworldly serenity. However, beneath this beauty lingers a subtle sense of unease. As the sisters descend deeper, they rely on their equipment and each other for safety. They eventually reach an underwater cave, pausing to soak in the silence and stillness of the deep. After a brief moment of calm, they decide to leave and begin their ascent to the surface. But their peaceful dive takes a horrifying turn when a sudden underwater landslide occurs, sending debris crashing down and trapping May beneath a massive rock. Drew is overwhelmed with panic as she grasps the severity of their situation. She quickly attempts to communicate with May through the intercom built into their underwater helmets. Desperately, she asks May to shine her torch to help pinpoint her location. After a tense moment, the faint beam of light guides Drew to her sister. May is trapped, immobilized by the massive rock, while her oxygen supply dwindles rapidly. Drew tries with all her strength to shift the stone and free May, but despite her efforts, she cannot move it. May, despite her dire situation, she reassures her and urges her to focus, instructing her to surface immediately to call for help. May also asks Drew to bring back extra oxygen tanks and the car jack from their gear to attempt lifting the stone trapping her. Drew rushes to the surface, only to find that their supplies are buried under the pile of rocks caused by the landslide. Setting a timer for 20 minutes, she sprints toward the car, knowing every second counts. In her desperation, she breaks the car door to retrieve the oxygen tanks, but struggles to access the trunk to get the jack. Checking her watch and map, she realizes they are miles away from any potential help. Determined not to waste precious time, she grabs the available tanks and rushes back to the water. On her way, she spots a boat and screams for help, but the urgency of May's dwindling oxygen forces her to abandon the idea of waiting for assistance. Without delay, Drew dives back down with both tanks, but in her haste, she accidentally drops one, leaving her with just a single tank to save May. Drew reaches May just as her oxygen supply is about to run out. With only one tank remaining, Drew makes a selfless decision to leave it with May, ensuring her sister can breathe while she free dives in search of the dropped tank. Battling against her fears and the crushing pressure of the situation, Drew manages to locate the missing tank and returns just in time before running out of air herself. With the additional tank, May now has more time, but their ordeal is far from over. Determined to find a solution, Drew decides to surface again, to seek help from the boat she spotted earlier. She reaches the surface, only to find that the boat is gone. Undeterred, she races back to the car, frantically trying to open the trunk to retrieve the jack, but her efforts prove unsuccessful, leaving her with no choice but to think of another way to save May. Drew checks the map and spots a house just a mile away. Desperate, she races to the location, only to find it abandoned and eerily silent. Frustrated and out of options, she screams for help, hoping someone might hear her. Searching the empty house, she scavenges for anything useful and eventually finds a hammer. Determined to save May, she heads back to the car. Once again, Drew tries to open the car's trunk, but fails. In a desperate act, she pushes the car off the cliff, hoping the impact will break it open. The car crashes below, but the trunk finally opens. Drew rushes to inspect the contents, only to find a fix-a-flat kit meant for repairing tires. Realizing there's no Jack, she breaks down in despair. The tension escalates as May's oxygen supply dwindles, leaving her with only minutes to survive. Drew, desperate to save her sister, finds a sturdy wooden stick. Using the Fix-A-Flat kit, she quickly patches up the damaged tank and dives back underwater with the repaired tank and the stick. Together, they attempt to use the stick as a lever to lift the rock pinning May. They push with all their strength, and just as the rock begins to shift, the stick snaps under the pressure. Thinking quickly, Drew comes up with another plan. She decides to place her jacket under the rock and inflate it using the oxygen tank, hoping the expanding air will lift the rock. However, as she begins inflating the jacket, the safety valve on the tank fails again, leaving them both helpless. May, realizing their dire situation, begs Drew to leave her and save herself, insisting there is nothing more to be done. Drew refuses, adamantly declaring she won't abandon her sister. She surfaces to find help without using the tank, leaving May alone beneath the rock. Meanwhile, underwater, as May's oxygen continues to deplete, hallucinations take over. She begins to lose her grip on reality, struggling to distinguish what is real and what isn't. In a heart-stopping climax, Drew makes one last, desperate attempt to free May. Drawing on every ounce of her strength and resourcefulness, she patches the leaking tank with the Fix-A-Flat and inflates the jacket using its air. After a tense struggle, Drew finally succeeds in dislodging the rock and freeing May. But the danger is far from over. The sisters must make a treacherous ascent to the surface, battling exhaustion and the looming risk of decompression sickness. They manage to reach an underwater cave where May explains they must remain for a while to decompress safely, or the sudden ascent could kill them. However, their relief is short-lived as they realize the oxygen in the cave is nearly depleted. With time running out, May decides to take a dangerous dive back to the bottom to retrieve the last remaining tank. As she swims through the murky waters, Drew struggles to hold herself together in the cave. Her breathing becomes erratic, and she begins to lose control, on the verge of drowning. Just in time, May returns with the tank, breaks the valve, and releases the air into the cave, stabilizing Drew before she succumbs. Gathering their strength and determination, the sisters make their final ascent. Breaking through to the surface, they gasp for air and cling to one another, their bond stronger than ever after surviving the harrowing ordeal. The sisters hold each other, realizing they've survived the impossible. What would you have done in Drew's situation? Share your thoughts and reflections in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and stay tuned for more gripping recap. See you in the next video.